It's from Shabbos Parshas Ekev, Chof Menachem Av Tav Lamed Gimel. In other words, the same kvias like this year, where Chof Av comes out on Shabbos. This mimer is going to have a lot of Kabbalah and technical spheres issues, and I will try to explain them to the best of my ability, and we will hopefully take it slow and explore it accordingly. We'כלת ושבעת וברכת ואכלת it says that this week's parsha, you will eat and you will be satisfied, and you will bench Hashem your God on the good land that He gave you. It's brought down the Zohar at the beginning of our parsha, in the section of the Zohar known as Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd. That's the part, we also have that at the beginning of Tanya. That's the part of Zohar that's attributed to Moshe Rabbeinu. Says, Pikuda da, this mitzvah of V'chalta v'savota v'rachta, levarcha le'lekutshe brichu, it's to make a bracha to Hashem, al kol ma da'ochel v'shasei v'ishane b'hai alma, for everything that he eats and drinks and derives benefit from, pleasure from in this world. Which means that, as we'll soon explain, the Zohar is referring over here to a bracha rishoina, birchas hanenin. He's not referring to birchas hamazon, as we'll soon see. Because of Aramaz, Rav Moshe Zakuto, a well-known mefoirish on the Zohar, writes that what is it referring to over here? In this ochal v'shasi v'ishane, where it says eating and drinking and deriving pleasure or benefit, shem hanois kol achushim. These are the pleasures of all the senses. All the pleasures that are associated with all the senses are included in this mitzvah that the Zohar says to make a bracha before we derive pleasure. Birchas Re'iyah, there's brachas that you make on seeing certain things. For example, a person sees lightning, or he sees a beautiful visage, he sees the sea, whatever. There's different things that a person makes a bracha revolving seeing. With Shmiya, there's brachas made on hearing, when a person hears good news, etc. There's brachas on reach, a good scent, like besamim, bayram besamim, matzah Shabbos, v'tam. And there's the bracha that we make for taste, what we do when we eat and when we drink. And these four types of senses that we derive pleasure from, these are beside arba oisius havaya. These correspond, these are the secret of the four letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, that all of these senses of sight, hearing, smell, and taste correspond to the three letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. In Chassidus, we have very often, we speak about Re'iyah and Shmiya. Sight and hearing / understanding correspond to Chochmah and Bina. Chochmah Bina, we know is Yud Kei, the first two letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei. But the Ramaz adds that the Reach and Tam have to do with the latter letters of Vav Kei, of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now the Rebbe contrasts what the Zohar says with what we know, standard, normally, the Pirush and V'chalta v'savota v'rachta. V'afagabdel fi Gemara dilong. Though, according to our Gemara, Pasuk V'chalta nemar b'chsamazim b'lvad, that the Pasuk V'chalta says only on Birchas Hamazon. It's talking about benching after eating, but the brachas we make prior to eating, that's only takonus chachamim. That is not min haTorah. Das haZohar shu midaraisa. The opinion of the Zohar is that it's a Torah obligation to make brachas before we eat. Though there are those that hold that only benching and making a bracha before studying Torah are Torah obligation to do so. All other brachas that we make on the food that we eat, brachas that we make on other mitzvahs, not the mitzvah of Torah study, are avol birchas hanenin hem midrabanan. But brachas that we say before deriving pleasure from things in this world are only midrabanan. It's only a rabbinic enactment. In das hazoyar, the opinion of the Zohar is shafilu birchas hanenin hem midrabanan. Even the brachas of deriving pleasure and benefit from this world that we make before eating and drinking and so on, these are Torah-based. These are a Torah obligation. The Darish Zem and the Zohar derives this. How does he learn the pasuk to mean this? That is referring to Birchas Hanenin, Mi'ala Oretz HaToiva, because it says ואכלת ושבעת וברכת הוויה אלוקיך על הארץ הטובה שנתן לך, for the good land that he gave you. It doesn't say that when you eat and you're satiated and afterwards you will make your brachas, but it says you will make the brachas on the aretz hatoiva, on the good land. This means kol ha'anois sheba'olam. The word ala aretz hatoiva, on the good land, means everything in this world, anything that there is to be found, any delight and pleasure to be found in this world, is something that a person needs to make a bracha for. It's not just the opinion of the Zohar, but there's many Rishonim, many of the commentaries on the Gemara and so on, are of the opinion that the brachas that we make before eating and drinking and so on, that's also Torah obligated. If we're saying that it's talking about the brachas before eating or before deriving pleasure and benefit, we need to understand what it says, you will eat and you will be satisfied, davke. Only it adds after you are satisfied, then you will make the bracha, you will thank Hashem. There has to be the idea of eating. Until in a way that you are satisfied. Only after these conditions have been met, you've eaten and you've been satisfied, then you bench Hashem. How does this fit in with the Zohar? A person needs to make a bracha on everything that he derives pleasure from this world. So therefore, it's not limited to eating, and it's definitely not limited to being satisfied. And only then do I make the bracha. That's the question of the Rebbe over here. Now the Rebbe continues in the Zohar at the beginning of our parsha, that speaks about the language of the bracha and language of brachas, how they correspond to different types of amshachas and revelations. Ois beis, mamshach b'zohar, the Zohar continues, bir nischa bracha baruch hato havaya lekeinu chulu. He explains the language of the bracha that we say, you are benched, Havaya Lekenu. Baruch means Daraza de Mekoira Ila'a Mekoila, the Zohar says. This is the secret, meaning the inner meaning, of the source that is higher than everything. Meaning it's the source from which all the Hamshachas that we're soon going to speak about follow. Baruch, Chazal explain, is from the word berecha. Berecha means a pool of water from which you draw water out to irrigate your field. So Baruch is referring to that berecha, to that pool, to that source from which we are going to draw down different hamshachas. What are the different hamshachas? So he's going to say la'aroka, to pour, ulam shacha, and to draw down, ulan hara, and to shine and illuminate, kol, let's skip the parentheses for a second, butzinin, all lights, all oiros are being poured, drawn down, and shined. Let's go back to the parentheses. Or like the gears of the Shalah Kaddish, al butzinin, that what is being poured and drawn down and to shine upon the lights. Now, the Rebbe is going to analyze very carefully the three terms. When it says that Baruch, you are drawing down, you have the level of the pool, the source of everything. And from that source, we're going to explain how the words Ata Havaya Lekenu shows on drawing down, but the three terms for drawing down, pouring, drawing down, and shining, each one indicates another level of being drawn down. Why do I say so? And the Rebbe is going to say how we can be so sure about the exactness of the language of the Zohar. So he says in the second line from the bottom, line 22, in the exact language used to pour and to draw down and to shine, kiyadu, as it's known, shekol teva shebesefer hazohar b'digdu gadol, every word in the book of the Zohar is very exact. And on top of page Vav b'ma'oid, like it's explained in the introduction of a sefer of the Mittler Rebbe known as Biyurei HaZoyar, explanation of the Zohar. There's also a corresponding sefer also called Biyurei HaZoyar of the Tzemach Tzedek. There's the Tzemach Tzedek's explanation on the Zohar. So the Mittler, and in the Mittler Rebbe's Hagdama to his sefer, it relates about the source of these explanations. He says in line 2, Sh'Rabbeinu Hazak na yaloimedim bona v'talmidav b'chol pam rak daf echad oishnayim. The Alter Rebbe would study with his children and his students every time only one page of the Zohar or 2 pages of the Zohar. Now there's not so much words to study over there. So what took so long for the Alter Rebbe to study that he only managed to cover 1 page or 2 pages of the Zohar? So the Hagdam of the Biyurei HaZohar, the Mittler Rebbe explains, Avol be'iyun v'amaka g'doilo. The Alter Rebbe used to study it with great depth, b'digduk haloshen b'chol milah, in the exacting of the language and every word of the Zohar. Biyurim elu, and these biyurim that are written in the Sefer Biyurei HaZohar of the Mittler Rebbe, this is what they heard, the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek heard from the Alter Rebbe. Like we see in the explanations of the Zohar of the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek, that the Tzemach Tzedek quotes sections of the explanations of the Zohar of the Mittler Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek goes on and further explains and elaborates on those explanations. And what do we see in those explanations of the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek? Shemedaikim b'chol milah shebezohar, Sefer HaZohar, they are very careful and they are very exact in every word of the Sefer HaZohar. Therefore, the Rebbe says, when the Zohar uses the term la'araka, to pour, ulamshacha, to draw down, ulanhara, to shine, every word is exact. So now he's going to quote from his father, whose yahrzeit is on Chofav. This Maimer was said on the Rebbe's father's yahrzeit. My father, the one whose yahrzeit is on Chaf Av, examines and explains in his notes to the Zohar on that piece of the Zohar on Parshas Eikev. As we know, the Rebbe's father would write notes in the margins of the Sforim that he had. So he wrote notes, especially when he was in exile in Almaty. He wrote the notes on the Zohar over there, and he said as follows: Hasholish l'shoynis la'arraka ulam shocha. Lanhara, the three expressions of pouring and drawing down and to shine. Yeshloimar, we could say as follows. The Zohar doesn't say the names of the levels. The Rebbe Leivik, the Rebbe's father, explains what these levels correspond to. Yeshloimar, we could say the Rebbe's father says, Ki Baruch Shoraza, the Mekayri Law, Baruch, which is the secret of the supernal source, Dahainu Yisoid Abba. That is the level of Chachma, but specifically the level of Yisoid. That's the level of Baruch. Baruch is Chachma, and specifically Yisoid of Chachma. In the Chachma hu Yud shebeshem. The Chachma is the letter Yud of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Sheyesh bezeh sholosh b'chinois. In the Yud of Yud Kei Vav Kei, it has in it three levels. What are those three levels? I'll first say it outside. The letter Yud has its pronunciation. When it's pronounced, it's written out as Yud Vav Dalet. That means in the level of Chachma, in the level of the Yud of Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, there are three levels, one corresponding to Yud, one corresponding to Vav, one corresponding to Dalet, and these will, as we'll soon explain, will fit in and different explanations with the three terms we said before: la'araka, to pour; la'amshacha, to draw down; la'anhara, to shine. So he says, yesh b'zeh sholosh b'chinas, it has in it the Yud of Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei has three levels. V'asholish oisius, these are the three letters. Yud, which is Yud Vav Dalet. Yud is the nekuda, the point of everything. Vav is a kav, indicating drawing down. Dalet is shetach, area. That means already it's something solidified and expanded, instead of being just one point or just a series of points, a line going down. These three levels of Yud, Vav, and Dalet that are in the letter Yud hint also on the three spheres of Chachma, Bina, V'das. As we'll soon explain, we're talking about the Chachma, Bina, V'das in Chachma. Ki Chachma Koilo Bina V'das Gamkein, because the Chachma itself, which is the letter Yud, includes in it also Bina V'das also. Yud is, like we said, it's made up of the three letters, Yud, Vav, Dalet. Yud is Chachma, Vav is Da'as. We'll speak about this soon, about Vav being Das, and Dalet, Bina, and the letter Dalet is Bina. And he'll explain how this works. So he's saying, Zeu la'araka, when it says in the Zohar, to pour from the Baruch, that is la'araka miyud, to pour from the letter Yud. Ula'amshacha, and to draw down mivav. The vav is about drawing down, ki vav hu amshacha. Vav is the idea of drawing down. Ulanhara midalet, when we're saying shining, that means a ray of light. Ki ha'oras ha'oiru bispashtus, because a ray of light is expansive. V'hainu shetach, so that's the idea of area. So that's why anhara Shining that goes on the level of area, and just like also Bina is also Ispashtus. Bina is also expansive. You're taking the point of Chochmah, you're developing it into many details. The same thing, Ha'ara, Lan Hara, the final term that the Zohar says, that is corresponding to the Dalid of the Yud Vav Dalid of the first letter Yud of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Ad Kan L'Shoinei. Up till here is a quote from the Rebbe's father. Now the Rebbe is going to take this explanation that his father said about the three terms that the Zohar says, La'aroka, U'lamshocha, U'lanhara, and contrast it with other places in the Zohar, other places that not in the Zohar, but these three levels are explained, but not in the way that his father explained. That they identify it with other spheres in those three. Line 21, second paragraph on the page. Concerning the letters Yud Vav Daled, it's explained in many places in a different way that's explained in the Oris. Yud is Chachma, that we explained, that Yud goes on Chachma, it's a point. Bechinas Nekuda. Vav, his father explained, is the level of Das. Other places, many places, it explains Vav is Bina Hamshocha Kav. Vav is Bina, which is drawing down the line. Bina Inyan Hamshocha. Bina is the idea of drawing down. Dalid is Das. Dalid goes on the level of Das. Not like he said before that Das goes on the level of Vav. How come is Das the level of Shetach? Ki Daled hu bechinas. Why is Das Daled? Ki Daled hu bechinas Shetach. Daled is the level of area. So why is Das the level of area? Shari bedas yeshnam kol haproti ba'ad ba'oifen da'achlot. In Das, there's all the details until a manner of a decision. Das is where things come to a way of resolution and decision, and I connect to it, I say, this is what we will do. Shu inyan hashetach, it indicates the idea of area, shetach kavua, it's something set. Now, based on the fact that Yud is Chachma and Vav is Bina and Dalid is Das, not like the Rebbe's father said, that Dalid is Bina and Vav is Das, so then, how would we apply it to the three expressions in the Zohar? According to this, the three things, the Rebbe is now enumerating it from top to bottom. To shine, to draw down, and to pour. In other words, top to bottom in the order flipped from where the Zohar says it. Heim lechura lanhara yud shu iyan chachma. Shining is the level of Yud, which is Chachma. How come is shining going on Yud, which is Chachma? The connection between shining and the level of Chachma. Of all the spheres, Chachma is considered like pure oil. Ulan Hara, who, top of page Zion, is Inyan HaOir. Lam Shocha is Vav, Shu Inyan Habina, drawing down, like we said, the letter Vav is drawing down. Not like we said before, that Vav is the level of Das, because Das is drawing down, but rather Bina is the level of drawing down. Ula Araka, and to pour out is Dalet Shu Inyan Hadas. The Araka is the letter Dalet, which is Das, because pouring indicates the very thing itself is being transmitted. And that's why it has to do with das, as we will explain tomorrow. Das has to do with the very thing itself.